Hello again everyone, welcome back. This is going to be a very quick video, very unscripted, of my WILDSTRIKE League starter for Warden in the current Settlers of Calgary League. As I said in the community tab in my channel, I've been away for a little while. I just really started playing on Thursday and it's now Saturday and I have killed the first 2 Watchstones and I am on the process of upgrading my character and go further into the endgame and start really farming for some currency and for some other build ideas that I have. The build is currently doing about a million and something DPS on single target, and it's very fun, very strong. I absolutely love what they've done with the Warden, and if you are looking for a build to try out with the new Warden, check this out. So, having a quick look at our character as it is right now. As you can see, I just finished killing Siri, and I did die once to the ball phase, but after that it was pretty clean. So having a look at our character, currently level 90, we are way over capped on resistances and we're gonna shift some of that into chaos eventually. And I want to do this video right now as kind of middle point of the build, because I'm going to go and invest a lot of currency now and try to do a big push into upgrading the character. So kind of a middle step of what you can kind of achieve fairly easily. For reference, I haven't played nearly anything up until this Friday. Currently it's Saturday, so this would be closer to a day 2, day 3 character for most people. So, having a look first at our Ascendancy, there's a couple of changes compared to what I initially envisioned. Initially I did go for Oath of Spring, but as it turns out, each stack is actually in its individual duration. So to get up to 50, you need a lot of attack speed, and so much that I feel like I can't get that much and I cannot sustain that much. Therefore, I opted to drop this because it loses a lot of value. Oath of Summer is very good, as we envisioned. The ability to reduce the resistance of our enemies to all 3 is amazing. This kind of works like a buffed up version of Elemental Weakness for us and liberates our curse to be able to use something like Assassin's Mark instead, which is very strong. Avatar of the Wilds is our big damage button. This kind of works like Berserk in other builds, where you push it and you do just a million more damage. It's crazy. It's super strong, and yeah, definitely go for this early. My third point was actually Enduring Suffusion, or Suffusion. This allows us to get a lingering effect on tinctures after they are removed. And finally, I go with Experienced Herbalist for the additional tincture. We are using a Prismatic and Oak Branch, which will give us Rage on melee weapon hit, which is very good because it's our source of generating Rage here. Potentially you can use a crit one instead. In my POV as it stands right now, the crit one is slightly below Rage, so I opted to go with this one instead. The passive tree is pretty much the same as we envisioned early on. Very simple. I did end up going here and take multi-shot, which is not great for us, but it allows us to get +1 strike skills around us, and this on its own allowed us to drop Ancestral Call, which is very good, because Ancestral Call is probably the worst version of AoE that you can run on a melee build, because it actually has it has a dead range around you, so if the enemy is too close, it actually won't proc. And on top of that, we are using multi-strikes, so we can't really make use of Ancestral Cry because it doesn't work together. So if you're using those 2 and you notice that your exerted attacks are not going down, that's probably why, because multi-strike cannot consume exerted attacks like that. Other than that, on the passive tree, we have a very simple setup. We essentially take all the claw nodes, we take a lot of life here, we want to take elusive here. We also, very importantly, want to take this tincture for cooldown reduction, and then the mastery that says when you have 12 or more mana burn stacks, it immediately deactivates. This is important because Enduring Suffusion will allow us to get up to 6 seconds of lingering effect, and that stacks to its maximum when you get 12 stacks. So whenever you do, due to this mastery, you immediately drop it and they go into cooldown, and you still get 6 seconds of effect from this. And because you're stacking cooldown reduction, you will be able to get pretty much 100% uptime on your flasks. Other than that, you are looking for suppress. We actually make use of this node, which is very niche, but it's actually amazing for this build. Whenever we suppress spell damage from enemies, we inflict all 3 types of exposure on the enemy, which allows us to make use of enemy spells, essentially on bosses specifically, to apply exposure on them, which is amazing, because we don't currently have any other source of that. Apart from that, I opted to go here and take these Preservation Wheel, and also go up here and take Blood-Soaked Blade to make so mana burn actually applies to our health rather than our mana. As you can see, we have a low mana pool right now because we're conserving a lot of auras, so this is way better, and we have a lot of leech, so it's easy to counteract that. So yeah, very simple passive tree here. I'm currently level 90, the rest of the points I'm going to put points in here to get this crit. I'm going to put points in here, and I'm not sure about the rest. I'll have to test stuff out. I'm not sure yet. But on the update after this, I'll be sure to let you guys know. As for the gear as it stands, first, the claw. It's a pretty decent claw. I bought it off the market. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I bought it off the market with that modifier fractured, and it was about 50 chaos, so not too expensive. That's a tier 3. Then I crafted it with tier 1 essences, and I just happened to hit tier 1 attack speed as well. Very, very good. And crafted the 3rd elemental modifier for a total of, I think, almost 600 elemental DPS claw. On the helmet, we require mana conservation efficiency of skills from this essence over here. And you can actually craft with the small one. It doesn't need to be bigger, but this will obviously give you a bigger mana pool to play with. So the higher, the better. But as you can see, yeah, we actually need the intelligence, so that's very good. And just life, evasion is nice, and the preservation here. Very simple helmet. I will upgrade this eventually, but for now, it's good enough. Our shield is quite simple as well. Just evasion, life, elemental resistances, and I crafted attack speed. It's not a very high base, so I'm looking to upgrade this, probably the next thing. But first, I'm going to upgrade my amulet, and here's why. It doesn't do anything for me, really. I don't need the resistances, so all I'm getting here is maximum mana, or maximum life, and accuracy, and the crafted mod. I can do much better, so this is what I'm gonna upgrade next. Plus, I don't even have an anoint yet, and Divine Judgment on its own would be another nearly 20% damage increase on our skill, so very unoptimized, but still more than capable of clearing all the way to the end game and doing the first, at least, if nothing else, your watchstones. So very, very good. And I know for a fact this can go and reach upwards of 10 million DPS and more. So it will scale very well. The chests here, the implicits are actually pretty good. In particular, the ability to get Fortify against unique enemies is very, very nice on pinnacle bosses. And other than that, Chaos Resist is good, Armor and Evasion, and just Evasion after. You can potentially do an Evasion base instead, but you want 4 off colors, so I opted to go with an hybrid to make it way easier to craft early on. Here, on the ring, flat is very, very solid. This one doesn't have health, but that's fine. We have plenty of health. We're at about 4.2k, about 4k and reserved. And then just resistances as much as you need, and stats, because you will need a little bit of strength. On the second one, here we have a taming. It's not a very good one, but it's the one that I've got. I bought it myself, or I made it myself. I bought the last barracks that I was missing, and this is the one that I got. Good enough. And yeah, it's a very strong ring for us, because we apply all the elemental elements. On the gloves here, evasion, resistance, attack speed, maximum life. simple, straightforward. We do want that implicit that gives non-fail strike skills +1 additional enemies, which is what is giving us the clear that we need, and this plus multi-strike on the passive tree here will be more than enough. Our belt is a very simple belt again, just life resistances and elemental damage with attacks. Optimally this would be instead a Stygian Vise, but that's what I'm going to upgrade in the future. And finally the boots. These are not very good actually. I would rather have at least 30 movement speed, and only really the lightning resistance is necessary here. Then I have a little bit of life and some evasion. These also need to be much more upgraded in the future. For our link, we have WILDSTRIKE here. We have Inspiration to reduce the mana, and we can benefit from everything, right? More elemental damage and critical strike chunks. Elemental damage with attacks. Trinity, which is the base of our build, essentially. Nightblade, and multi-strike. I'm now going to start doing some corruptions and qualitying these gems. Here we have Mark on Hit with Life Tap and Assassin's Mark. We have Frostblink for a second movement skill to go over walls, because Whirling Blades cannot do that. We have Automation linked to Steel Skin. Level this up to whatever you feel comfortable on strength, keep that in mind. Here we have Whirling Blades, Fortify, Life Tap, and Anger. Fortify is here because usually you don't get Fortify outside of unique monsters, so this is just for mapping. And I don't have anything else to put on this link really. Then we have Precision, Blood Rage, and Arrogance. And finally, Herald of Purity, Flesh and Stone, and Grace for our auras. Flesh and Stone specifically, make sure to always be in Sand stance because you want less damage taken from enemies around you. As you can see, the AoE is actually quite generous, and it will give you a lot of defenses against specifically bosses that are standing in your face. So very nice in that sense. And yeah guys, that is pretty much as the character is right now. That is the passive trees, that is the gear, that is gems, and for the flasks, one of them is not even crafted, I should probably get around to it. And for my tinctures, I think the best things you can get is cooldown recovery rate, penetration, crit multiplier, and attack speed on the suffixes. All of those are pretty good. I think pen is probably the best, but everything else is still pretty decent. And yeah, that's pretty much as the character is right now. I'll leave the POV in the description. It is doing about 1 million DPS with all our buffs up and with Scorch on the enemy and whatnot. And it's been very fun, very strong. I'm absolutely loving the Warden Ascendancy. I think this is kind of the change that I wanted to see to Elementalist, but for attacks instead. So yeah, this is amazing. I'm so happy with this new Ascendancy. Looking forward to push the build a little bit further, and once I do, I'll come back and update you guys on the state of the build. Also, I made a poll a while ago on what content in PoE you want to see in my channel, so if you want to give your opinion, either do that in the poll itself or comment in the description what content you'd like to see. As for now, I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.